Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to this special edition of Energy Frontiers. I am Ohonobu. Nigeria, Africa's largest oil and gas producer and exporter, has raised the curtain on its energy transition plan via a global launch conducted virtually on August 24. The plan contains a pathway that could enable Nigeria to become a net zero country by the year 2060. Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who unveiled the ambitious 410 billion USD plan, spoke about its significance in the global fight against climate change. Take a listen.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us at this global launch of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan. I'm grateful to all our partners and sister governments for their support on the plan and for their robust participation in the launch today. Climate change is perhaps the greatest existential threat of our lifetime. The most reliable evidence today shows that every inhabited region across the globe is already affected and that no place on Earth will be immune to its effects. In Africa, the effects are expected to be particularly damaging. For instance, climate change threatens crop productivity in regions that are already food insecure. And since agriculture provides the largest number of jobs, reduced crop productivity will simply worsen unemployment. Yet from all indicators, as a global community, we are way behind schedule on the pathway to limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. It is certainly time for decisive action, and we just cannot afford to delay. African nations are rising to the challenge. All African countries have signed the Paris Agreements, and some countries, South Africa, Sudan, Angola, and Nigeria, have also announced net zero targets. But for Africa, the problem of energy poverty is as important as our climate ambitions. Energy use is crucial for almost every conceivable aspect of development. Wealth, health, nutrition, water, infrastructure, education, and life expectancy are significantly related to the consumption of energy per capita. Africa, with about 17% of the world's population, only generates 4% of the world's electricity. The current lack of power hurts livelihoods and destroys the dreams of hundreds of millions of young people. And although Africa's current unmet energy needs are huge, future demand will even be greater due to expanding populations, urbanization, and movement into the middle class. It is clear that the continent must address its energy constraints and would require external support and policy flexibility to deliver this. Unfortunately, in the wider responses to the climate crisis, we are not seeing careful consideration and acknowledgement of Africa's aspirations. For instance, despite the tremendous energy gaps, global policies are increasingly constraining Africa's energy technology choices. There is a clear need for African nations to engage more critically and vocally in conversations on our global climate future. More importantly, we need to take ownership of our transition pathways and design climate-sensitive strategies that address our growth objectives. This is what Nigeria has sought to do with our energy transition plan. The plan was designed to tackle the dual crises of energy poverty and climate change and deliver SDG 7 by 2030 and net zero by 2060, while centering the provision of energy for development, industrialization, and economic growth. We anchored the plan on key objectives, including lifting 100 million people out of poverty in a decade, driving economic growth, bringing modern energy services to the full population, and managing the expected long-term job loss in the oil sector due to global decarbonization. Given these objectives, the plan recognizes the role of natural gas in the short term to facilitate the establishment of baseload energy capacity and address the nation's clean cooking deficit in the form of LPG. The plan envisions vibrant industries powered by low-carbon technologies, streets lined with electric vehicles, and livelihoods enabled by sufficient and clean energy. The plan has the potential to create about 340,000 jobs by 2030 and 840,000 jobs by 2060. And it presents a unique opportunity to deliver a true low-carbon and rapid development model in Africa's largest economy. However, the plan also highlights the significant scale of resources required to attain both development and climate ambitions. Nigeria would need to spend $410 billion above business as usual spending to deliver a transition plan by 2060, which translates to about $10 billion per year. The average $3 billion per year investments in renewable energy recorded for the whole of Africa between the years 2000 and 2020 will certainly not suffice. Towards implementation of the plan, we have an interministerial energy transition implementation working group, which I have the privilege of chairing. We are currently engaging with partners to secure an initial $10 billion support package ahead of COP27, along the lines of the South African Just Energy Transition Partnership, which was announced at COP26 in Glasgow. In addition, we are currently implementing power sector initiatives and reforms that are focused on expanding our grid, increasing generation capacity, and employing renewable energy to rural and underserved populations. Significantly, today, we're also launching an innovative results-based finance program that focuses specifically on scaling up electricity access for productive users. The Universal Energy Facility will provide grant payments to enable solar companies expand their operations to small and medium-sized enterprises across Nigeria, while crowding in additional private capital. Projects that are sponsored by the Universal Energy Facility will help grow businesses and create jobs, making them key contributors to our energy transition plan. And I'd like to encourage solar companies in attendance today to engage with this innovative financing opportunity, which is being managed by the Sustainable Energy for All, C4All. We developed our energy transition plan to engage with the rest of the world in a serious, thorough, and data-backed manner. We're hopeful that investors and the global community, particularly in the lead-up to COP27, will recognize the immense opportunities and potential for impact on the African continent. Working together, we can make this moment count for Nigeria, for Africa, and the rest of the world.
Drilling down into the financial requirements that Nigeria needs for the implementation of the Energy Transition Plan was the country's Minister of Finance, Budgets and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Energy Transition Plan that we are launching today is bold, ambitious, and has the potential to generate monumental impact across the entire nation. However, it is important to highlight that this additional plan requires significant financial support. According to the plan, delivering Nigeria's net zero target requires spending $1.9 trillion up to 2060, including $410 billion above business as usual. This additional financial requirement breaks down to $150 billion net expense on improving generation capacity, $135 billion on building transmission and distribution infrastructure, $79 billion on developing clean cooking solutions, $21 billion on decarbonizing industry, and $12 billion on transport, and another $12 billion on oil and gas decarbonization. We will need to crowd in about $10 billion per annum till 2060 to deliver the additional funding required for implementing Nigeria's energy transition plan. Access to finance remains the biggest challenge for accelerating climate and development action in Africa. At COP26 in Glasgow, G7 nations announced $8.5 billion South Africa Just Energy Transition Partnership to support the nation's coal phase-out. We hope that this, in fact, sets the precedence on a clean energy offer to developing countries and emerging markets like Nigeria. A green energy package should offer at least $10 billion per year over the next 2 decades to aid the delivery of energy transition goals. In addition, there needs to be a hiatus on blanket bans for fossil fuel financing in developing countries, particularly for natural gas, which is essential as a transition fuel for establishing baseload power capacity and clean cooking solutions. Stated and presumed bans on natural gas from the West have significantly impeded the ability to raise financing for key gas infrastructure in Nigeria. It is therefore a welcome development that the EU decided to label natural gas as a green investment opportunity earlier this year. For our part, the government of Nigeria is implementing several sector reforms, such as the Power Sector Recovery Program, the Auto Gas Initiative, the gas flaring commercialization, the LPG penetration, and gas-based industry framework. We're also putting in place enabling policies and incentives like the 3-year tax holiday for independent power generation and qualified investments, and making investment-grade data and tools such as the Nigeria Integrated Energy Planning Tool public policy available to demonstrate our investment readiness and commitment to the transition. In addition, we are continuing efforts to address macroeconomic issues. We are also keen to develop frameworks for carbon pricing in country to ensure sustainable revenues for climate action. Nigeria has developed data-driven energy pathways, and we seek finance commitments and support from the international community to transition justly and equitably. With access to the right tools, global investors will benefit by tapping into the innovation and potential returns in our market, which is yet to be fully optimized. Nigeria is a unique climate case and presents perhaps the greatest opportunity for impact on the continent. Nigeria is willing and ready. We call on investors to take advantage of the new opportunities that our energy transition plan is opening today.
After the break, we have selected some bites from a few international organizations that identified with Nigeria's 2060 Energy Transition Program. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Representatives of World Bank Group, the International Finance Corporation, and the African Development Bank expressed their support and advice towards Nigeria's energy transition plan that was unveiled this week. Let's hear from them.
The World Bank's primary mission here in Nigeria is to help the government in its own aspiration of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. To realize that aspiration, we have to be able to provide Nigerian businesses with power, Nigerian households with access to energy, and to do so in a way that's climate friendly, that's sustainable, and is aligned with His Excellency the President's commitment to net zero by 2060, which he made at COP26. We are, at the World Bank, are very invested in the power sector, in the energy sector, in the whole climate change agenda. And therefore, the development of this very ambitious energy transition plan provides a perfect opportunity for us to even ramp up our support for this critical agenda. We plan to commit over $1.5 billion towards the energy transition plan on renewable energy, on power sector reforms, and potentially hydropower, clean cooking, wherever the opportunities arise. The policy and institutional reforms that will be necessary are also part of the agenda, and we hope to be able to provide support there. The fundamental imperative of energy access, but in a way that's consistent with the energy transition. Well, what I think of as the NEAT imperative, the Nigeria Energy Access and Transition Imperative, is something that we here at the World Bank are absolutely committed to supporting.
Climate change is one of the greatest development challenges of our time. As the world embraces decarbonization, it is imperative that Africa achieves a fair and just transition to clean energy while addressing its energy access gap. IFC congratulates the federal government of Nigeria and Nigerians on today's launch of Nigeria's Energy Transition Plan. This is an excellent initiative by the government, which should help shape many critical discussions on energy transition in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally. The transition plan duly notes that achieving universal energy access by 2030 and a carbon-neutral energy system by 2060 will require a transformation of Nigeria's energy sector. It estimates that Nigeria will need an additional $410 billion over the next 30 years to achieve carbon neutrality. The private sector can play an important role in supporting Nigeria to meet these targets. To increase the private sector's investments in the energy transition will require putting in place an enabling policy and regulatory environment. At IFC, we stand ready to support Nigeria's ambitions in reducing greenhouse gas emissions using our investment, advisory products, and providing technical assistance. We look forward to joining future discussions and working with Nigeria and other partners in mitigating the impacts of climate change.
Nigeria is Africa's largest economy. The country's potential as a global economic powerhouse is, however, constrained by energy poverty. Nigeria's power sector is characterized by a relatively low installed generation capacity of 13 gigawatts, about 10 gigawatts of electricity demand, and even lower available daily generation capacity of 4.5 gigawatts, which is limiting considering the size of the economy. Moreover, a significant portion of the demand is met by standby diesel generation. As a result, at 45%, Nigeria has the highest electricity access deficit globally, and 92 million Nigerians do not have access to electricity. Additionally, only about 15% of Nigerians have access to clean cooking fuels and technology, which is not surprising considering that 75% of energy used in the country is derived from biomass and waste. Accordingly, the $1.9 trillion energy transition plan being launched today, and which underpins Nigeria's commitment to net zero by 2060, announced at COP26 in Glasgow last year, must be commended. This is because the plan projects how energy poverty can be bridged while guaranteeing that Nigeria has access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy to meet its sustainable development goals and meet its Paris Agreement commitments. I therefore encourage other African countries to emulate Nigeria by collaborating with international partners to formulate just and inclusive energy transition plans that firstly optimize a country's natural resources, secondly, are based on integrated energy planning approaches that address each country's electrification, clean cooking, and productive use of energy needs, and thirdly, align with the country's nationally determined contributions and long-term strategies. Finally, the African Development Bank, which is already a partner in Nigeria's energy transition through projects such as the Nigeria Electrification Project, stands ready to continue supporting the country and indeed all of Africa in formulating and effectuating just energy transition plans for the continent's sustainable development.
There is more from the high-profile unveiling of the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan. In particular, the path that the African energy producer needs to take towards its 2060 net zero target. Join us again. Welcome back to this special edition of Energy Frontiers. Some key global institutions have advised Nigeria to focus on areas such as policy consistency and partnerships in order to meet its set goal of net zero emissions by the year 2060. Speaking to this and other important details at the August 24 virtual event by Nigeria, were top officials of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, the Sustainable Energy for All, and Bloomberg Philanthropies. Let's listen.
Distinguished Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, it is my pleasure to be speaking with you all today. I'm delighted to be part of this public launch of Nigeria's energy transition plan. Without a doubt, energy is an essential part of everything we do. It is a critical ingredient in our daily activities. At the same time, energy also accounts for over 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions, contributing significantly to the climate crisis. Both these challenges need to be addressed urgently, or we will remain far off track in ending energy poverty and meeting our net zero ambition. To get there, we need bold and urgent action towards a just and equitable energy transition. This requires an understanding that we must address climate change, energy poverty, and development. Recognizing that countries at different stages of development need sufficient sustainable energy to grow their economies, as well as develop along a low carbon pathway. I'd like to commend the federal government of Nigeria for taking a bold step at COP26 last year and announcing its commitments to achieving net zero by 2060. That includes delivering universal energy access for its entire population by 2030. The Energy Transition Council, of which I co-chair with the COP26 president, supported the government in the development of an energy transition plan that is backed by comprehensive and robust data and analysis and outlines the country's unique energy transition pathway. Nigeria has also championed a just, equitable, and inclusive energy transition through its role as a global theme champion on energy transition at last year's United Nations High-Level Dialogue on Energy, and by submitting an ambitious energy compact. Beyond Nigeria, we have seen other African countries demonstrating a willingness to be equal partners in the global fight against climate change, including through the Kigali Communique that was the outcome of an African ministerial meeting held on the sidelines of the Sustainable Energy for All Forum in Kigali in May. The communique begins to define what a just and equitable energy transition would mean for the region, outlining transformative actions towards achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7. In this pivotal decade of action, we must collaborate to succeed on achieving our multiple goals on climate, energy, and development. Once again, I commend the federal government of Nigeria for taking this important step and in bringing together so many partners to enable a just and equitable clean energy transition.
Hello, everyone, and let me thank both the Nigerian government and the team at Sustainable Energy for All for bringing us together. Back in May, Bloomberg Philanthropies announced a major new investment. We're helping 10 countries with enormous clean energy potential, including Nigeria, avoid coal and accelerate their energy transitions. And it's great to see Nigeria step up with the big, ambitious plan you're launching today. Moving towards a net zero economy will bring economic and health benefits to the people of Nigeria, but government can't do it alone. At Bloomberg Philanthropies, we've worked with public and private sector partners to fight climate change, improve public health, and create good-paying jobs, all at the same time. Your plan is sending the right signal to investors, and we hope it will inspire more countries to join you ahead of COP27. So thanks again for your partnership in this urgent work, and all the best.
Thank you, Your Excellency Vice President Osinbajo, for bringing us together today to launch Nigeria's energy transition plan. To the many partners of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, we're honored to join you here today in support of such a crucial agenda. Why is it so important? Nigeria has the world's largest unelectrified population. 90 million people, some 45% of the country. But in addition, Nigeria's economic development requires more electricity, more generation, not less. How do we achieve that with clean energy, not more diesel? And how do we stop the levels of unhealthy cooking? How do we solve energy poverty at the same time? These are intertwined objectives. They're all essential to Nigeria. The solution has to solve all. So we can't expect business as usual. What's needed first is a plan. And that's where we commend Nigeria's leadership in focusing, first of all, on a holistic energy transition plan. Without a plan, it will not work. Your plan is holistic, it's ambitious, and it's inclusive of what Nigeria's society needs. Next is implementation. Implementation. How is that going to best happen? First of all, we believe it has to remain country-led under Nigeria's strong political leadership and prioritization. How to embed implementation into the next government. How to continue to use the Energy Transition Office as a resource for the government to accelerate and scale the implementation. It needs the private sector. That is the largest source of capital, but it's also the source of sustainable business models, innovation, and technology. So Nigeria needs to be taking every step it can to attract private sector solutions. And that's competitive. If the market is not competitive with the policies, the regulation, the certainty, the enablers, capital will go elsewhere. And thirdly, it needs partners. We bring a coalition of support to assist Nigeria, where everyone can play to their strengths and be coordinated. That's what GIAP is here for. We're a coalition of over 20 partners of philanthropy, funders, implementers, governments, and others. We're already in action in Nigeria, working with SE4All, with the Rural Electrification Agency, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and so many other partners already underway trying to assist the implementation of your plan. So we congratulate you today on the launch of this officially, but it's just the beginning. And GIAP stands ready to support the government of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria as you implement this critical agenda, as we all change energy for good.
And that is the package for this edition of Your Energy Frontiers. And we thank you for watching. You can follow the show on the Frontier Africa Reports website and across all our social media handles, as indicated on the screen. It is goodbye from me, Omono Okonkwo, and I will see you next time.